This podcast is sponsored by CDO Group, the industry leader in providing a full range of construction and project management services. CDO Group has managed thousands of projects in all 50 states. Their group of experts provides systems, processes, and procedures to make sure that your projects turn over on time and on budget every single time. With over 24 years of experience, CDO Group is the industry's leader in construction management and general contracting services. To find them, go to cdogroup.com. Hi, and welcome to the Future of Development podcast. My name's Anthony Amunategui, and I'm here to inspire people to find amazing careers in the construction development world. If you like our podcast, please make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. If you really like our podcast, make sure you hit the little bell. Hi, and welcome to the Future Development Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Amunategui, and today I'm joined by this country's #1 franchising coach, Tana Hutchinson. Her over 2 decades of experience in guiding franchisees to that perfect franchisor and inspiring them to have careers that produce some of the biggest numbers in the franchising world. Her and her group over at FranChoice do an amazing job of understanding the franchisee, what they're looking for, and understanding the franchisor, what they're looking for, matching them up, and that guidance really puts together success stories. I'm so excited to have her on the show. Tana, welcome to the show. Tana, welcome to the show, and really excited about having you on today. And, we've talked before. Your background and my background with working with franchisees is a lot of fun, right? Meeting franchisees in that perfect space where they're excited about a new venture, a new idea. You match up franchisees with the perfect franchisor. And that process takes a little bit, right? Because everybody has an idea of what they think they want, but really figuring out what's going to work for them and something to be viable for them long term. What's that process look like when you put it together?
Well, it all starts with just trying to figure out, what does this person want out of this business? Because the business really is a vehicle for how they want to change their life or enhance their life, right?
That's right.
So when I first speak with a candidate, and that's what we call folks that we work with, they're candidates for franchise. When I'm first speaking with them, I'm trying to understand who they are, gleaning out their skills and their experience and what they hope to accomplish with this business. And then I take them through a series of steps where I really get to know them and break it down and try to meet as close to as many of the ideals of what they're looking for.
That's awesome. When you break that down, that process you go through and making sure you meet their expectations. Every time I work with a franchisee, the first question they ask me is, once they get through the first looking at sites and whatnot, when can I quit my job? Right? They're so excited to jump into it. I'm like, they're already ready to quit their job and get started. And we haven't gone through finding a site location yet, moving. They're looking for that date. How do you set expectations? So they're manageable for them, so that we're not later on missing the expectations and having people that are frustrated. Guiding them along the way. How do you set those expectations?
So once we do the match, once I match them to a franchisor, then I'm giving them lots of tips on how to investigate the franchise company and investigate the business opportunity itself. And they're picking up all different aspects to the business, which includes all the startup. So while they are learning about the business from the franchisor, they're learning about it as well from the franchisees. They're validating everything that they're learning from the franchisor with the franchisees. And I'll coach them and give them lots of tips and tools to help them in this process and even give them sample questions and so forth. Well, while they're in that process, part of it is understanding, okay, if we have a location where customers are coming to the location, you need to understand how long it's going to take for me to get that location open. So you're learning from the franchisor, and oftentimes these franchisors have their own real estate and construction departments that can help guide them, and the franchise development team is educating them on that. But then too, they're learning from the franchisees about how long did it take to get that location open and what was that process like. So I'm not necessarily preparing them for average time frames. I'm relying on the expert, which is the franchisor and ultimately the franchisees, and explaining to them what was their experience like and how long did it take. So I'm giving them the questions to ask and they're learning it from both parties.
I think it's great. Asking the right questions. The problem I find with most franchisees is they see things with rose-colored glasses on, and I get it because they're excited about getting into something, and asking the right questions, even the ones that are hard, right? Seeing the good, the bad, and the ugly of a franchise going into business, right? Knowing, hey, look, this is what happens on your bad days, right? And this is what it's going to take to get you under construction. Here's what the real costs are going to be to go find a location, just to find the team to go find the location. Get the architect, the construction, the lease, build out cost, the first order cost, right? When you're doing a bricks and sticks location, and likewise when we're doing a service based business, right? What's the marketing cost? What's the training go through? What's the period of time you're going to have to invest into it before you see a dollar, right? Before you start to see money roll in. Sometimes that's hard to show them, but to make sure that they see that so that when they go in, their expectations are measured properly, right?
And that's the beauty of the franchise business model, because it's not like going into business by yourself where you don't know what to expect and you're just, in essence, making a lot of assumptions about how long it's going to take to get this business launched and up and running. With franchises, you can actually validate that with people like yourself that are owning and operating these businesses every day. And so you can learn that. So you can learn, going back to your original question, you can learn about how long does it take to get that business open? And then how long does it take to get that business to positive cash flow? And then bringing the kind of income you want as an owner into your pocket to be able to transition out of your current position. If that's what you want to do, because we work with a lot of franchisees who I have three types of candidates. I have one that wants to be the owner operator working in the business full time. I have candidates and franchisees that want to be more of an executive owner where they are what we like to say in our world, working on the business as an owner, not in it as an employee. And so they're managing the manager and managing staff. And those executive owners oftentimes can build out additional locations or additional territory. And then we have the candidates that are looking to do regional development. So depending on the situation, depends on when they leave their job or if they leave their job, if they want to. And then many of our candidates are current business owners. So they're just adding businesses to their portfolio.
Knowing the difference between what role you want to play, right? What kind of day-to-day activity you want to have in and on your franchise business. That's a great thing to look at, right? Just to know yourself, know how much time you want to spend, where you feel your skill set is best. I always tell people, where do you feel your energy, right? When you're doing what part of your work do you get the most energy from, and what's the part of the job of your day that feels like an energy your energy's lowest, right? Look at those parts of who you are, so that as you kind of line yourself up with what role you want to play, you're in your best alignment.
That's a big part of what I do when I'm coaching candidates, is to understand what's a day in the life of an owner in this business and what it's going to take to be successful in the business. So what are the key tasks you have to do every day as this owner? But then I'll also pick out other things about the candidate. And these are the intangibles that I think make a difference in matching people correctly to businesses, is learning things like, are they an early riser, right? That's exactly what you're saying. Are they an early riser? Do they do their best work early in the morning? That makes a difference on the type of business that I'm introducing them to, believe it or not, because some businesses start earlier. Some are getting teams out the door before 8 a.m. sometimes. You learn those little things about people. I take candidates through a process where sometimes I can tell that they wonder, why is she asking me this? Or how is this even relevant to buying a business? I just want to buy a business that makes money and that's it. But the reality is there's more to it than that. And that's what makes what we do so much fun.
Are you wanting to be customer facing? Are you not want to be customer facing? How many employees do you like working with? All kinds of different people. It's kind of funny when I find someone that wants to go from the computer world who's been behind a screen. Now they want to own a restaurant and go into the restaurant world. And, even though franchising makes it easy, is that your ultimate desire, right? Is being in front of customers and dealing with customer service your passion, right? Is that something, let alone all the stuff we're going to have to get through? If you made all your money working in computer world and now all of a sudden you're dealing with people and their problems and, customer service stuff, is that going to light you up every day? Is that going to be something that really is really going to move you? Tana, when you look at the difference between bricks and sticks franchise, location-based franchising and service-based franchising, how do you start to look at how to guide someone between the differences of those?
Well, a lot of it has to have to do with the time commitment that the candidate can put towards the business and the money that they can invest. So your bricks and sticks location-based business, that's going to cost more than a service-based business. So that puts them in a completely different category. And then two, how can we get the candidate funded for that business? And also two, the time to launch the business and get it to positive cash flow. Service-based businesses where we don't have a lot of overhead. If we have a location, maybe the location is in an industrial office park setting, or maybe an executive office suite in a corporate office park, or maybe it starts off as home base. So those types of businesses do not have large total initial investments typically, and they can ramp up faster. The location-based franchises, they take time, exactly what you were describing before, setting expectations, knowing that we have a certain amount of time before that location can get open. And then once the location is open, how long it takes to hit positive cash flow, where the revenue coming in the door, it exceeds the expenses going out.
You and I talked a lot about the investment of a bricks and sticks location, and we'll do a separate podcast together on that one coming up here, and we'll link that down the bottom of this podcast. There's a lot to think about. How do we look at the real estate, how to find the right deal, what the timing it takes to find the right deal, how do we put the team together to go find the location? Obviously we can, based on the location, the type of lease that we get, can vary the cost of investment dramatically. And there's lots of components to talk about there. And I think you and I will continue that conversation on a separate podcast, talking about the investment of a bricks and sticks location. And I think that'd be a lot of fun for folks to see all the thinking that it takes to find your perfect location, the perfect cost, and the team and time that it takes to go through that process. Even when things go perfectly, what the hurdles are. And again, we'll link that down the bottom so folks can watch that on a separate podcast. When we're putting together a team and you're looking back over the franchisees that you've placed, what are the characteristics that you see that make them satisfied? When you look at their characteristics, what are those?
Besides it meeting all of their goals, meaning what they wanted financially out of the business, a key characteristic that a lot of my candidates are looking for is, not only working for themselves, but having more control over their time. And so if we're meeting the money that they want to make, giving them time back to their family, their life in general, then other things that will happen with a satisfied franchisee, once those expectations have been met, usually they'll take on more territory, or they'll take on additional units of whatever their franchise is. So it could be in their franchise system, building out additional units in a market, or they may consider taking on additional units of maybe another franchise that's synergistic to the infrastructure they've already established within their teams.
Yeah, I see that a lot where, they start with one brand, they get an operating team that works in that one brand really, really well. And then as they find the next strategic brand to work with, that they can leverage their existing, team to operate. I noticed that great franchisees tend to be able to do start with one, master it, master their team, and then be able to grow into other opportunities for them.
That's right. And that's if we got it right out of the gate, meaning we matched to who they were as people and what they wanted out of that business, then we can go on and do that. And that's a big part of what I do, is making sure that the business matches the skills that they're bringing to the table and what they want. So when you gave that example of an IT person looking to get into a sandwich business, you have to ask that person, why do they want to get into that particular business? Because our CEO and founder at my parent company, FranChoice, when we match people to businesses, we match them based on the business characteristics and not to whatever the product or service is being offered. So a lot of times I will ask a candidate, why are they interested in such and such business? That's if they come to me having an interest in a certain business. But more often than not, they are just looking at that business because they think that there's a demand for it and that business matches them, but they don't necessarily match to what the role of the owner is every day in that business.
Don't get fooled by it's a gold rush. Make sure that you understand if you want to be a miner or if you want to sell the shovels, right? Making sure that you know what role you want to play in the gold rush. Great. That may be the fad today, but look, if you don't fit the fad and you don't fit the operations of that, and long term, you're going to hate going to work every day or running a franchise, you're never going to be successful. But if you can, work with the fad or work with the concept or the idea that you like, but your role in it is better off selling shovels than going out there and doing the mining, great. I think that's a big part of what you do and the benefit of working with a team like yourself that really works on finding where's your passion. Tana, I love our time together. If you were to look back and talk to a younger version of you that was going to get into the franchise coaching business, what might be some of the guidance you give a younger version of you to look at the business?
To be successful in what we do, you really should come from the franchisor side or from the franchisee side and understand what franchising is all about, because it is a different business model. And so if you're interested in doing something like what I do, go to work for a franchisor, understand operations. Operations is really key in the success of a business, right? So getting that operations experience, or even getting the franchise development experience like I did, where you understand what people's motivations are and why they want to get into business, and help them understand why that business model is that vehicle for them to get where they want to be. And then if they are interested in business ownership, but they're a bit nervous doing this completely on their own, that's the beauty of franchises, which is, going into business for yourself, but not by yourself. You have the proven systems and best practices to follow.
That's great. Tana, if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best place for them to find you or get a hold of you?
My website, www.tanahutchinson.com. So that's TanaHutchinson.com.
It's been awesome having you on the podcast today. I'm grateful for your time, and I think people get a lot out of this, and look forward to having you on again. Thanks.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. My name is Anthony Amunategui, always looking for people to bring insight into the industry, finding ways to inspire people to have amazing careers in the development world. If you liked our podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. If you really liked our podcast, make sure you hit the little bell. Thanks again for listening. Please share it with your friends.